Because I am very distracted, very easy. All right. Hajdu.
Hajdu. Hajdu.
Hajdu. I've been saying Hajdu forever, and I know that's not right.
Okay.
Hajdu.
Hajdu. It's not. It's my married name.
Yeah,
I'm divorced now, but it's my married name. Yeah.
yeah. And that's the, I forgot, is that Bulgarian? Or no, that's Hungarian.
Hungarian.
So
Hmm.
you're not Hungarian.
No, I am. I'm
Oh, you
Sicilian,
are.
Hungarian, German, and Irish. Yeah, I'm a mix.
What's your maiden name?
Kemenetti, which is Sicilian.
Ah, yeah. That does not sound very
I
Hungarian.
grew up old school Sicilian.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Um, okay. Here we from the Haidu group, your Dreamtown. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay, today on the show, we have Nicole Hajdu from the Hajdu Group with Dreamtown here in Chicago. Let me tell you more about Nicole. With over a decade of real estate experience under her belt, Nicole's unmatched local expertise and dedication to her clients is evident in every real estate transaction. She provides her clients with highly personalized, collaborative, and stress-free real estate experience. Nicole takes the time to listen to the needs of her clients and help them navigate the real estate process with ease. She is a highly driven individual and attributes her real estate success with her passion for learning and development. Nicole has also been named a Chicago Association of Realtors top producer and a Dreamtown top producer every single year since 2016, and most recently was awarded the five-star professional she's a five-star professional award winner and member of the Forbes 500 list. As the founder of the Haidu Group, Nicole and her team are proud to offer clients the best in-class experience and strategies that they deserve. The Haidu Group brings together the art and science of real estate, relying on the tried and true methodologies to achieve success while elevating this process for clients. Please, everyone, follow Nicole at the Haidu Group Real Estate, and I will. That is spelled Hajdu, but I will have a link to that in the show notes. You don't have to type it in because you would probably not get it through the way I'm pronouncing it. But also follow. Please visit our website, thehajdugroup.com. Again, that's Hajdu. Hajdu. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you, DJ. Thanks for having me.
I would like, before we get started, just to say what a fantastic person Nicole is, at least to me, because this is just what a giver she is. And I don't know that anyone will even care about the story, but it meant something to me, so I'm going to share it. So Nicole is somebody I did not know. We had no interaction, I believe, up until I somehow started receiving some emails from her. I probably signed up for it somewhere, and I started getting these really cool emails that I was very impressed by that she was sending out to her sphere of influence. And just on an off chance that she might want to chat with me or maybe even know who I am. I assume she didn't. I sent her a message, I think, on her email saying, I'm so impressed with this. Could I call you? I just have a few quick questions. And she was like, oh my God, totally. So I called her. She was in the middle of a conference, I think, with Tom Ferry and like somewhere in the Southwest part of the country. And she just immediately picked up and we were talking like we had known each other for a long time. And here we are today getting to speak to each other on the show. I'm a huge, huge fan of Nicole. She's a lovely, sweet person, and I'm glad to have you here. So, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you. And I do remember that. I remember it like yesterday because you're a bit of a celebrity in my eyes. So it was it was nice to
I don't
for you
have
to
any
call
awards.
me.
You have lots of awards. You're the celebrity. Um,
But I do remember that. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. They make up awards for podcasters, and we've gotten about 20 different ones or more than that. And they're
See?
like, they're not really awards. They're just, somebody makes stuff up and, whatever.
Hey,
But you get real
they
awards that you've
are.
earned and won. So I am very impressed. But let's I don't really know your story. So I'd love to hear how you got into real estate and why and
Hmm.
sort of what keeps you going.
Okay. Well, I got into real estate in 2007 when everybody was getting out of real estate because it was the crash, right? And everybody was getting out. I got in, and I didn't think twice about it. I got my license when my kids were 4 and 3 years old, and I remember that like yesterday too, because I'd have to put them to bed and study and get my highlighter out and do all that fun stuff to pass that test. And I actually had 3 different jobs. I had my own business. I had a little print business I was running. I worked in remodeling, and I was starting to do a little bit, just getting into the real estate, right? So I was running around like crazy with these 2 kids, and my then husband was in the police department, and he worked opposite shifts. So um, it was me alone with the 2 kids and studying, and got my license that way. My dad was really influential in me getting my license because he had his broker's license. And but the year before he passed away, he said, "Get your license. You really need to do this. You need to either get your license, become an agent, or you maybe own your own brokerage. Do something with it." Because I've always wanted to own my own business. My dad was a small business owner. He was second generation plumbing contractor, commercial plumbing contractor. So being old school Sicilian, owning a plumbing company from 1929, you could imagine he put me to work when I was 11 years old doing payroll. And you might remember this, payroll was done on a ledger with a ruler, right? And that's what I was doing at 11. So I was working for him um, from 11 years old, and it really, really taught me a lot about business, integrity, showing up when I needed to, and structure and business planning, because I got to live that life for so long. So he's the one who influenced me into real estate. I got my license, and shortly after that, I had my daughter, and about a year after that, I ended up getting divorced. So I had 3 kids, a 1-year old, a 5 and 6-year old, and ended up quitting my remodeling gig I was in because I was in corporate, and I went to Loyola University and I studied creative writing and photography. Nothing used for my career directly, but it was a good, critical thinking type of major I had, and gave me the ability to pretty much do anything I wanted in my life, which I'm grateful for having that education. But being on my own, and I'm glad my dad told me to do that and get my license. But being on my own and having to have that flexible schedule because I needed to pick up my kids. I couldn't have a 9 to 5. So it was pretty much baptism by fire. And I did that in 2007, getting into market when nobody was getting in, everybody was getting out. So I really had to hustle, learn everything I could possibly learn through not podcasts then, but through just training, um, Googling everything in classes. And I really just immersed myself in everything just to learn so I could be on my own with the 3 small kids. So it took me a few years to get to that point. But that's how I got started.
So it's fine. I love the expression, if you want something done, give it to a busy mother, or just give it to a mother because
Mother.
it'll get done. And I always find, I've had a lot of moms on the show who started their career while they had children, like you did. And, you just think about how challenging that must be. And yet people do it. So I always applaud the mothers who take this as a career, because I am a single person who does not have children and doesn't have a lot of responsibilities that I'm absolutely tied to, and I find it much harder to even stay on track myself. But boy, moms are really impressive with, of course, everything they do. And so also I was thinking too that you got in the business 2007, right when things were not looking good, after the height of the market, like
Mhm.
2005, and then 2008, everything started to crash, maybe even 2007 a bit. And that is a very challenging time. At least a lot of our agents today, or a lot of our listeners rather, they may be feeling a similar sort of way because, of course, the market is a little challenging right now. We know interest rates
Yeah.
are, gosh, I was seeing today at like 7.2 is the average for a 30-year fixed, which obviously is much higher than anyone would like. But it's just a tough time right now. There's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines, not a lot of listings as well. So I think this is a really good timing to have you on, because we can talk about how you sort of persevered through a very difficult several years. So how did you start prospecting once you were getting into this career, what worked for you then, and how did you sort of start finding clients?
Well, I had to really think about how I wanted to do this and get the word out, and why would people trust me, especially with selling their home. Like, buyers, sometimes when you're starting out, we all get more buyers than we do listings, right? Um, it just just human nature for people to trust you, maybe to drive them around and purchase a property more so than list the property. So I really kind of dug into, okay, what are my skill sets? What do I do well? What would make a difference in this industry? I always knew that I wanted to own a business, run a business, and act like a business, and not just have it be maybe like, oh, like a hobby. And I think people sometimes forget that in real estate and forget that they have to run a business. So it was something I was doing at the same time. Like, okay, business mind, and what are my skill sets? And I looked at, okay, I have my college education. I started my own businesses from when I was younger, different little things I was doing, but I also worked in corporate. So I worked in TV production. I worked in advertising. We had big clients like Pillsbury and Air Trans, and then I worked in so I it was first a print company. So I knew a lot about print. Then I worked into advertising, and then I went into TV production. So it was all aspects of marketing. So I took my background in marketing and business development in terms of like project management, and I moved it into real estate. So I wanted to get that out there. Yes, I know a lot about marketing, and I can market your home, and I know about print, and I know what quality is. And I started elevating that and reaching out to people through really just meetings. Like my neighbor told me that was my first deal, was my neighbor. She's like,
Sure.
"We're going to look at building a home." I said, "Listen, I'm getting my license right now. Please, please do not list with anybody. I'm going to list your house and sell your house." And every day I saw her, I'm like, almost. I'm getting my license. Give me like 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. And she was my first client. And we ended up selling to a really wonderful couple who I'm still friends with to this day. And that was in 2007 was my first deal. And then I started marketing to my block. Okay, well, people know that I'm here. They know that I'm in real estate, or they heard that I'm in real estate because I'm telling them. We had block parties, I'd mentioned it. I would send out postcards around the block. I would make phone calls. And I know right now I'm at Dreamtown. Yuval Dagani, who is the founder of Dreamtown, he is really, really big on pick up the phone. If you just pick up the phone and call people, you never know. It's such a great opportunity. Hear what they're saying, talk to them about whatever. How's the kids? Now we have access now to people's lives that we never had before in 2007, right? Like, I can see what you're doing. I could see anything about your life, and people could see about my life and pick up the phone and call and ask, right? And sometimes it leads to the best conversations or a connection, or, hey, you know what, I was just thinking about selling my house, or my mom needs to sell her house, whatever it may be. It usually just organically happens if you reach out. So that's what I started doing. I just started putting myself in opportunity, in the way of opportunity. And I think people forget that too. You got to get out there and put yourself in that space to receive some opportunity.
I am, you said a lot there and a lot of great things to unpack. One of the things that I wanted to touch on was the phone that you mentioned. Being you and I are in the same generation, so we grew up with the phone. You and I grew up talking on the
Yeah.
phone to friends. You were probably asked out on your first date via a telephone, or at least that's how
Yeah.
it worked for where I
Yes.
grew up. And it was a lot of phones were really, really important. And of course, to people today, anyone under 30, or even probably under 35 even, just don't they didn't grow up using the phone. It wasn't significant to them, and so as a result they're not really in that habit. However, I find that people are often very impressed with getting phone calls, as long as they're not salesy and whatever, but it just isn't that common anymore. So I'm a huge fan of that too. Even talking to younger people, even having, the Gen X, Gen Z people who aren't really as big on the phone. Curious to if you still are doing as much phone calling as you were before.
I am. In fact, I'm doing more of it because I'm really big into coaching. I love coaching. I've hired coaches, and they all just say the same thing: personal notes, send out the marketing, the postcards, newsletters, but personal notes and phone calls. I think those make the most difference in our business. Uh, I mean, receiving a personal note in the mail, I feel like it's a lost art, and
It's
it's
one
really
of the
touching, right?
it's one of the greatest feelings. And it only happens to me. I actually have one right here that I just got that was like from the association. They wrote me a nice thank you. I get maybe two or three of those a year, maybe. And it does, it really makes me feel good, at least.
And I'll write them, like I know Ninja says, get out there and write 5 note cards, 3 to 5 a week. Different coaching programs have different recommendations, but I started that maybe 12 years ago when I was doing Buffini. And and sometimes I get off schedule on that,
Sure.
and I just have to sit you just have to sit down and prep yourself. You have to have your note cards there and know what your routine is every day and do the time blocking and the scheduling. I mean, it's really all hands on deck when you think about marketing, because marketing is everything in business.
And
It's
it's
what gets your name out there.
100%. And also, you were a creative writing major, or that's what you studied in college. And that too is not, obviously, not everyone has that kind of background or that skill set. But if you have the ability to write, and you're somebody that has, that is an avid reader or an avid writer, and you sort of have an awareness of how to construct sentences, you can really make yourself stand apart, even just in your listing descriptions. And for anyone listening who's like, I'm not a good writer, that's not what I'm good at, Chat GBT is here to help. And
Oh
they
yeah.
can, you just throw in your existing listing and say, make this more emotionally appealing, and it does it pretty good job. People like you and I we would always do that manually, and that was something that you and I are skilled at, and then other people now can sort of catch up a little bit. So that's just a little tip for anyone out there who it doesn't feel like maybe they're as skilled at that. But you are an excellent marketer, and I want to just highlight one of your things, and I've talked to you about this ad nauseum, I'm
Mhm.
sure, and but to the audience, they don't know this. So I wanted just to talk about this one thing that you do, and I know you do a million other things too. So I just want to focus on this because this is how I got really impressed with you. And I should mention, like, my role here at our firm is I recruit realtors, and I've never thought for a second that I would be able to recruit Nicole, because it's just not the kind of realtors that we really recruit. She's a total superstar, and we don't oftentimes get superstars like that. But I was so impressed with this. I thought, man, this is so wonderful that I wanted to mention it, just because I don't think anyone's ever talked about it on my show in the 6 years I've had it. So I know it's just one thing that you do, but can you talk about your email newsletter that you do every week? And sometimes even more than once a week. I feel like you do other things, but tell our audience what you do, and why you do it.
Sure. So I do a postcard version and like a newsletter version. So the postcard version that I send out, which is an e-blast, it is what things to do in the city and things to do in the suburbs. And I send it to I send the suburban one once a week and the city one or the suburban one once a month and the city one once a week. Because people want to know, hey, especially if they have kids, family, people visiting, they want to know what to do in the city, and it's something of value. So I want to be at top of mind all the time. I want them to think of me as their go-to real estate person. So in order to do that, you have to touch them so many times a year. And part of that touch strategy or campaign, if you will, is to do these newsletters. Let them know what's going on in the neighborhood, what we're doing as a team. And we're even revising our newsletters and sending out letters now, handwritten signed letters that state, what we've been doing as a team, what we're looking to do in events. And we're also, going to then make that into the newsletter that we send out once a month. And we have a great marketing team that puts it together, and it's very professional, and it goes to out to our sphere. So we have multiple touches a month throughout the year where people will not forget that, okay, Nicole Hajdu does real estate. Let's call Nicole. She's got her, finger on the pulse. She listed this. She's in our neighborhood. She's doing this. Her team is doing that. And we talk about how our team is growing. And for people who are just starting out, you start out however you can. I mean, I remember I lost a listing, pretty big listing early on, and the woman had a quick fact sheet, and the seller said it was between you and this other person, but she had all her information on a quick fact sheet that just had bullet points, right, of what she's doing and what she's accomplished and her credentials. And I'm like, oh my God. So I started that. But you know what? I only had like three things on it at the time. It was very sparse of a quick fact sheet. But over the years, it grew and grew, and now it's over a page, right? And I use it all the time. And it's the same thing. Just start it. Even if you don't have a lot to put in an e-blast or a newsletter, just start it, and it will naturally just unfold and create into something beautiful that you can use and be of value.
Totally agree. And I want to spend a few moments on the what to do this weekend newsletter, 5 things to do this weekend, because this is a decision that literally, I'm just making this up, but every human being pretty much on the planet who has, their weekends free is thinking about at some point during the week, oftentimes not until Thursday night or Friday night. Oh my God, what am I doing this weekend? At least that's how I oftentimes feel. And what's really amazing is it's a decision or it's something I have to think about every single week. So the genius of this to me is that you are basically filling a need. So she sends out this newsletter with the things to do in the city. And if you live in the suburbs, she sends you the suburb one. This is so easy to put together. Well, it takes work, of course, but it's so
Yeah.
easy because we can just go to, there's websites that accumulate this. And Nicole actually has a tough, difficult job because here in Chicago, we have hundreds of things going on every single weekend. She picks 5 things that she thinks is really interesting for the city. And it's so useful, and it condenses because there's hundreds of things going on. I can see what she thinks are the top things to look at this weekend. And I use this, and I think this is so brilliant because I get to look at this I have always been somebody who thinks, gosh, I just want more suggestions in my life. Like I just want people to say, you should go do this, or like I did this with the US Open. I'm a tennis player, but I don't watch tennis on TV. Well, enough people over the years said, if you ever get the chance to go to the US Open, you should do that. I was like, okay. I wouldn't normally think to do that. And I just did it. And because people told me to, because it was suggested to me. So this is exactly right in that wheelhouse. Well, but people do this every single week. So they have to make these decisions for their family, for themselves, what was going to go happen on the weekend. Now, realtors, we don't often think about the weekends because realtors are working oftentimes during the weekend, but everyone else is
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
figure out what they want to do socially. So this is such a great idea, guys. And I'm so impressed with Nicole. And she never misses. She never misses it. She always gets it out. And it's just something and I'm sort of hooked on it. Like now I'm hooked on it. It would be strange for me to not see it once a week. And I might even think, oh, I wonder if something's wrong if she didn't send it. So that's really what you want, is you want people hooked on your content so that they're waiting for it and anticipating it. And I just really applaud you for that, as really smart idea. And I don't, it takes consistency, of course, to do it, but over time, people just, I'm sure you get a lot of feedback from people saying, wow, that's so great.
We do. We get feedback saying, "Hey, listen, can you send me the magnet?" I send them the magnets. They have it on their fridge when you walk into the house. And I'll go to events, and people will say, "Oh, thank you for sending me what to do this weekend. I always look forward to it because I never know what to do, and the suggestions are right there." Or you forget the dates, you forget the festivals going on, or whatever it is. You're not gonna. You just People just want easy. They want the easy button, and it's just an easy way to provide value and let people know, like, hey, I'm here for you. I got your back on what to do this weekend.
It's really it seems so simple, and I guess it is a simple idea, but it is a very important one to consider. Doing something that people are going to consistently need, even between transactions, because people are only buying, selling a home. I don't know, every 7, 10 years, whatever the stat is. So of course they're not going to really probably need your real estate newsletter every single month, although it's nice to do that, and it's certainly not a bad idea. But if you also can send them
Hmm.
something that they do need every single week, like if I was a mother, for example, or if I had small children and I had a lot of people in my sphere of influence that had children, I might do a thing for kids. Here's some cool kids events or whatever. And Nicole does things like that, which I think is so smart. So there's that, and I also this is we should mention too that if anyone is listening who is an agent who is looking to maybe join a team or maybe move from their existing brokerage or just explore other opportunities, this is the year we're seeing a lot of agents move around to from offices. And it's a great time to consider what other options exist. So Nicole, not only is Nicole a coach and she really enjoys coaching and she coaches her team, she also is coached herself. So I always think the best coaches have coaches. So Nicole and her team can do that. So if anyone out there thinks they might be a good asset to Nicole's team, or really is looking for more of that coaching from that they're not getting at their current firm, Nicole, what's the best way that an agent should reach out to you?
Either phone 773-727-2199, or my email, which is nhajdu, HAJDU, @dreamtown.com.
Awesome. Did I spell that incorrectly any
No, you
earlier?
spelled it
Okay.
right. No,
I
you spelled it
I
right. You got it right.
it's a wonderful Hungarian name. So yes, let's talk about this year. So let's talk about the challenges of this year,
Uh,
and love to hear kind of what your team is, how you're keeping your team motivated, what you're sort of having them do today, or while things are a little more challenging, to just stay productive and stay moving forward.
sure. So this year is different, very different than the last 2 to 3 years, right? I mean, I always say the last 2 to 3 years were just a complete anomaly, and they gave us momentum and more clients to build on, but yet very, very hard to look at the last 2, 3 years in terms of numbers and think that that's going to be just as easy to replicate going forward. It really, I mean, I've never been busier than I was in the last couple of years. I've done more real estate, um, fired and hired new people, and people left, and just, a lot of changes in everybody's lives. And now we're up against another change. But you've been doing real estate for a while. Every year it changes. No year is ever the same. And I think when people first get into real estate, they don't realize that. I don't think I even realized that every year is different. There's so many challenges. There's so many things in economics that change, politics. Depending on whether or not it's uh, a year for office. It just, there's so much that goes on where it's human nature for people to pay attention to these things and then react with everybody else reacting. So if everybody else is holding off, well, there must be a reason. I'm scared. I don't want to make that change, right? So, like during COVID, nope, we just sat there. I don't think, I mean, I didn't list properties, I say, for probably about 4 weeks right when COVID started. But I was still working and I was reaching out to people. And I said, this is a great time to catch up on everything that I wasn't doing, making my phone calls, sending my letters, doing social media, thinking out of the box about, okay, how am I going to survive during this? Because we don't know what's going to happen. And are we going to have a job in 2 months, right? 3 months next year. So what did I do? I listed my house in the first 4 weeks of COVID. I said, if I'm going to tell everybody else to do this, I got to do it. So I listed my house, figured out how I was going to manage photography during COVID, how I was going to manage staging, how I was going to manage the entire transaction, showings, everything. And if I could do it and successfully do it, I could tell my clients to do it, right? If that's what they desired, because there was a great opportunity there for people who were saving and ready to move, jump on it, get that low rate. So, and that's what I did. And then over the years, as things changed, I knew things were going to change too. It wasn't always going to be just low hanging fruit. So now we're into that change. And due to rates are kind of putting a little bit of a hold on the market. There's not as many people. We're listing properties, but there's not as many people looking. There's not as many offers. The offers aren't sometimes aren't coming in where we want them to come in. So it's a shift in our thinking, a shift in our marketing, shift in our pricing, and our team is seeing it. We see it. We hear it on the news. We podcasts that we listen to. Like everybody's talking about it. It's a change. So the team, it's really important to keep up with the coaching and the training and educating yourself. But with my team, we're constantly talking about what can we do to add value to our clients? What can we do to be there for our clients? And keep getting better at what we're doing and know the market and know what's happening and be able to guide our clients in a way where they understand that they can still get to their goal. Maybe it's now, maybe it's in the 6 months or a year from now, but we're here to help them. And we're doing it by still showing our properties that we're listing and selling, sending out the postcards, sending out the newsletter, the 5 things to do this weekend. Events are a, a a really nice thing that you can do to your for your clients and get people together and have that community, especially for people who want to get to know you more, get to know what you do, or maybe a buyer seminar. There's so many things that we can put out there, and we're looking at putting out there monthly and quarterly, and then once a year too. So I think that really helps in a changing market. You have to be super creative, willing to spend money when you don't know if money's going to be coming in at the same rate, or if you're just starting, you got to spend the money to make money. And I think people forget that too in a business, because so many businesses are brick and mortar and you have to get a business loan. We don't have that. It's credit card, put on your credit card, write a check. We have to invest in ourselves. So I keep telling the team and myself, like, I need to sit down, I need to invest in myself, need to give back, do volunteer work, get involved in things that you like. I do volunteer work for Maryville. I love it. And it's something that I take time away from real estate and my family to do, to give back, but it's that experience that motivates you to do more in your business and more in your personal life, and share things with the people around you. So I think it's just there's a lot of things that go into being successful during a changing market. And I think you have to touch on all those things and really sit down and think about, what do you want? What is the message you want? What kind of branding do you want? Who's your ideal client? That's a big one too. And that always changes. I remember I worked with 6 weeks with a coach, just having me write down my ideal client. Because at first, you're not getting your ideal client. You're like, oh my God, do you want it? Sure, yeah, let's go out 700 times to go look at a house because you want to get your first deal, right? And have it go south like 3 times before you close. That's how real estate ends up it starts off. So I think there's just a lot that goes into it. And as you do this longer and longer, you learn that it's not just marketing. It's getting yourself out there for events and being creative and giving back to your clients and giving back to the community and doing things at the school, promoting. I have a big banner in the school. I'm part of the Fast Direct on the school website. I mean, that was consistent for like 8 years. And I get a lot of my business from the kids' school.
Wow.
So it's reputation, it's doing the best that you can and keeping your being and having integrity, so then people can pass on your name and trust you, right? Oh no, I have somebody for you. I have somebody for you. Because 90% of my business is by referral. And I think that's what we really need to do and focus on building those relationships. So every year that the market changes, you got to analyze it and look at, okay, what do I want? Do I want higher price point? Do I want more people? What kind of people do I want? And how am I going to do that? Through marketing, through events, through getting out there in the community. You can do all of it. And what you do now happens, you see the reward in about 3 months.
Interesting. So I want to say that. So you see the reward in about 3 months. Can you just say a little bit more about that?
Whatever we do now takes about 3 months to show the results. So if I make a phone call right now, and I have my list of phone calls to make, but make a phone call, I might not see that listing or that closing for about 3 months. That's the time span from speaking to somebody to actually having something come in place. Now, it's a numbers game. You got to talk to maybe 100 people to have X amount of deals, but it's about 3 months.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess really what I'm hearing you say is a lot of just consistency and making sure
Mhm.
that you're not too heavily influenced by sort of what's out there in the ether or in news media about how challenging this market could be, or even other agents talking about it. That is obviously a big topic when I talk to other agents, when I see them socially or at events. People are just they're struggling. It's a tough market right now, so it's easy to think, well, gosh, everyone's struggling. And when we feel that way, oftentimes that's going to decrease motivation to continue doing the sort of normal business building activities that we should be doing. And I think it's really important to know what's going on, of course, in the industry and in the market, but also to not be too influenced by it. Because, like you said, yeah, today might be a day that isn't great because of rates, and but in 3 months we don't know, and we're going to start to see people, the results of our thing. So you really, I always think it's like you're just doing your future self a favor. Like whatever you do today, you're doing
Mhm.
a favor for your future self. And, the good news is it can be a really crappy day today because it's not going to matter in 3 months. We're going to have a different set of challenges and a different set of opportunities. And if I can just continue working today, that's going to bear fruit, here in the near future, not even a year from now, 2 years
Yeah.
from now. So I think that's a really important thing for people to think about today is know what's going on, but don't get too caught up in it because what you're doing today isn't about today anyway. It's about 3 months from now,
It's right.
or
It's
further.
not. It's Yeah, and it's a numbers game. That's why you have to write notes and call people because you have to reach out to as many people as you possibly can daily to to be to be making a living when the market takes a step back, right? Because it always does. It's always up and down, up and down. And if you look at the statistics over the last, 75 years, you could see it going like this all the time. So it's just timing. And I've been doing this long enough where the timing just was perfect during COVID for me to move and for me to really start getting my name out there. It was just perfect timing. And there's nothing I could control about that except my everyday actions. And it just hit that level of that opportunity just hit at the right time for me and for my team. So, and I mean, like you just, you didn't all of a sudden just start interviewing 20 people a week. That didn't happen. It was, hey, I have this idea. Everything is an idea. You got to get it out of your head and implement it somehow. And
Yeah,
you got to
and
remember to be you too.
that's it. And, clients do really like to see the agents doing things that seem authentic to that agent and seem that, is doing something of value. So I agree. I always like when people ask me, like, boy, what should I do right now? I'm like, I don't think it really matters. Just do, two or three things every day that are, specific to getting your name out there in a way that's comfortable for you. Like for me, I'm not somebody. I'm not a practicing agent, so I don't have just listed, just sold kind of experiences in my life because I don't do that. But there's other things I do that I want to highlight on social media. So depending on everyone's who's listening's personality, what you're willing to share, what you're willing not to share. What we do know for sure is that your sphere of influence and clients want to see you doing something that you enjoy, whether it's being a realtor or even maybe being a mom or just being a good citizen or doing something that is not a, hey, look at how great I am, look at how much I contribute, but more of a just, this is what I'm really into. Like when you started talking about the school, like you got a little bit excited. You were like, I like doing that, and
Hmm.
I like participating, and I like giving back. And with Maryville, you mentioned, and so. those things are you. As soon as Nicole said that, if you're watching it, you can see her face lit up, and I feel the same way about some of the things that I'm involved with, and you can see it. And so that's the kind of stuff that you want your clients to see as well. That, like, I have passion for the industry, and here's a little bit more about what I'm into outside of the industry as well, and here's how I help the community, because real estate is hyper local, and we need to think about the community. I also wanted to ask you about gosh, I just lost what I was going to ask you, but I will ask you about coaching, because I know that is obviously something very important to you. You're a top producer, you have a coach, and you also coach your team, and maybe even other agents. Tell us a little bit about how important coaching is to you today, and how you like what you go to your coach for. What does a top producer bring to their coach?
So the coaching has developed over the years. I've got my first coach when I was getting divorced. I had no idea if I was making the right decision, how to navigate it. So I hired a coach. I said, I need to know this. I don't know what I don't know, right? So I put it on my credit card. I still remember it was $3,000. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting divorced. I have these three kids,
Not the
two,
time to
6 and
spend three
7.
thousand dollars.
Not the time to spend $3,000 in a horrible market. So I did it though, and I was hooked. I'm like, this woman is telling me and giving me information that I didn't know. I didn't even know about this stuff. Like, she's putting things into my head and telling me I can. She's motivating me and giving me the support, and making me courageous, and telling me I'm doing the right thing. And then you're like, no, I am doing the right thing. This feels good, and I like this, and I like the information I'm getting. And I ended up getting divorced, and being able to be the breadwinner in my family. So I did get remarried again, and I because the kids, we didn't have kids together. It's just my three children, but I'm able to put them through private schools and have buy my own house and do all these things with this real estate career. And I owe a lot of it to the people who've helped me. So you've all helped me in my career. He's the owner, founder of Dreamtown. He helped me quite a bit. He gave me so much opportunity, but he gave me opportunity because he saw that I showed up. And I showed up because I had the coaches behind me, and the information and the motivation there. And I was seeking help to become better, because I have blind spots. I can't see everything. I sometimes I do things and I don't know that maybe that was not correct or wrong, or not the best way to do it. And so I started with Buffini. Then I went into the core coaching. Then I have done Ninja, and back to core again. And then I just got my coaching certificate. So I can eventually step into coaching too, on a full time basis, as I get older and don't want to run around so much showing homes. But that's not for another like 10, 15 years. But I'm preparing. So I'm preparing for my future by getting my coaching certificate now, and kind of dabbling with it, and at least having a door open and be able to take that on. So with coaching, I asked my coaches that, you got to be upfront and honest and open, and you got to pretty much lay it all out there. Like, they had to look at what I was spending, and they're like, oh no, 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 no. Like, what are you doing? Because I like to spend money, and I like to give money away and like donate and do all these things. And they're like, whoa, 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 you need to have some better business practices. And I knew that too. I just didn't know, like, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? Show me how you do it. What do you do that works? What am I doing that's not working? Tell me. If you just tell me, I will do it. And I think a lot of us just need that. Just tell me, like what you're saying. Just tell me, make it easy, and I will go do it. And let me know what works and doesn't work. I don't want to find out and take 5 years to figure something out that could take me 3 days with coaching. So and as I started getting more and more coaching, I learned about what I needed from a coach. So I was able to ask for Tom Ferry. Like, I did Tom Ferry coaching when we talked, and I asked for a very specific coach because I knew where my deficit was. What did I need help with? I needed help with time management, and I needed help with um, like organizing, what am I spending per listing? What am I spending per buy? Where is my money going? Those are the things I needed help with. And I had to ask for that specific coach. But to ask for a specific coach, you have to prove yourself and do the work prior to have that, to have that luxury to do so. So I love coaching. It's helped me greatly, and it helps and there's a lot of stuff I learned that I pass on to my team, and they don't even have to pay for it. They just get it because they're on my team, right?
Yeah.
And I love sharing, and they love hearing it, and they take some of it and some they don't. It depends what you're ready for and when you're ready for it.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to ask, I remember now what I had forgotten earlier, which is I wanted just to really quickly touch on open houses. I feel like newer agents maybe aren't as familiar with the importance of those. I'm curious to
Hmm.
get your opinion on open houses for new agents and really for any agent, but specifically newer agents who might be listening. So we're going to have people, of course, who are listening who maybe are newer, who don't have listings. They don't have open houses to do for them, their own clients. But you can always ask other agents in your office if you can sit for some of their open houses. Are you seeing open houses still having success for your team? And if so, or if so or not, what would you recommend instead?
Oh, open houses for newer agents and seasoned agents, definitely open houses. Tom Ferry's big on mega open houses, where you invite the whole block or two to the open house. There's so many things you can do to be creative and make it a big deal, and really get your name out there, and also meet other people. And you have to learn about how to communicate with people when they come in, because I think it's a little bit of a trial and error thing if you're newer on. You don't want to be like, hey, are you approved? Are you interested in this house? Like, there's a way of doing it, right? And that takes practice. So there's a lot of opportunity at open houses. So we just brought on my son who's 18, not him, but his friend. And he was amazing, go getter, going to college. He would do open houses, and he just said, he's like, I'm going to college tomorrow, but I just got this lead from a $2 million open house I was sitting at. He's
Amazing.
18, and he just closed
Amazing.
his first deal in his first 30 days because I sent him on showings, rental showings. He literally followed up with every single person that came through for the rentals and got his first deal. So the open houses are a huge opportunity. If you just have to put yourself in the place to receive those gifts, and you got to get out there. And it's a great opportunity. My entire team does it.
Yes, I agreed. And thank you for that. And okay, so I'm curious when because people, I think oftentimes, I mean, we do this with people who are at a certain, what we believe to be a higher status than we are with respect to maybe they're at a different, stage of their career. They're, bigger producer, or maybe, they're just have some skills that you feel that we don't currently have. We look at these people, like I was at the US Open, I'm watching some of the very best tennis players in the entire world, and I'm like, well, it's so easy for them. And of course it isn't, and they're putting in the work to get to that level. But it's important to remember that even top producers have challenges as well. So when you find yourself unmotivated, maybe you're maybe even you have a little bit of sadness or fear or depression or whatever,
Hmm.
anxiety, whatever, is preventing you from being at your best. How do you find the motivation to continue on despite, because we all know that life gets in the way, and life has challenges. So when challenges hit you, how do you persevere through them? Like what do you do to continue so you're not, holed up in bed in the fetal position for weeks at a time, which, and again, I'm not here to criticize anyone who is in that position. I have a lot of empathy for people that struggle that way. But when you're feeling down, I really should be asking this question more often in my interviews, because I think it's really interesting. Like, how do you stay motivated when times are tough?
Wow. And I've been in that position actually when I was getting divorced with 3 little kids and had no money and was figuring out
Yeah,
how the heck am I gonna do this going from a
that's a pretty
full-time
depressing
job.
position. Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. There were a lot of not getting out of bed days. But I had to because for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but I had 3 kids that were relying on me, so I had to get up and I had to pull myself together. Um, and I think to be in this business, you have to be a little bit outgoing, and maybe you're an extroverted introvert like me. I do like my alone time, but I also like to be out there and talk to people and be social. So I think this can go for everybody who's listening to this right now. That if you are in this business, you're going to be social, and that's probably where you get a lot of your energy from. And just remember that if you're going through a tough time and it seems hard right now, get yourself out there. Go to events. I just went to a Chase event last night. It was great. Made a new friend. Talked to people I had a lot in common with. It just felt good to get out. And I remember that's how I also built my career was going to events, car events, the coaching events, the seminars, just getting out there, and it motivates you and pumps you up, and then you make those connections and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute. Those connections are gonna feed my business later." Getting out there and meeting new agents and looking and hearing other people's stories, because everybody has a story. Every house has a story. Every agent has a story. Everybody started from here, to get to what we're talking about now, especially the ones who share their stories. And I think that helps motivate people. I listen to audiobooks, so I'm on Audible all the time, driving in the car. I listen to so many people tell their stories about how things were not great. But guess what? When things are not great, that's who makes you who you are. That's where you prove yourself to yourself. You know your self-worth. You start to learn about a lot about yourself when things are bad. And
Also, I'm sorry, I
yeah,
didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say also you build resiliency
yeah.
during challenging times, and you actually become stronger by facing, not necessarily conquering like things that are challenges because we can't conquer all of our challenges. In fact, we can't even conquer most of them, but we can learn how to cope with our challenges so that they don't completely remove us from what we know is going to be beneficial to our actions. And you said something very, very powerful. I just want to this. If anyone out there right now is struggling with, the market's tough and everything's about this year is a little bit more challenging, and you're feeling demotivated, or unmotivated rather, you said something very, very important, which is be social. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, if it's an introvert, if you're more introverted, you maybe are going to go out with the people that you're closest with, that you're most comfortable with, that aren't going to zap your energy. But getting out of the house and being around other people that you enjoy, which is another great reason to give back and
Mhm.
volunteer, because if it's something you're passionate about, you'll find like-minded individuals. And I have the same philosophy. I have a goal every week of doing at least two, but hopefully three social events a week. Now, I'm a single guy; it's easier for
Wow.
me to do that. I don't have three children, which of course would prohibit that. But if I did, I'd say, okay, I want to just do one social event a week, and that could be going out with a friend. It could be going to an event, hanging out with other realtors, maybe volunteering, something where I'm literally out of the house, because I know for me, I've done enough social activities and other things out. I know if I'm in my apartment or in my condo, I will. I can start chasing my own tail. I can start ruminating. I can start really getting into the just feeling down, and that's fine. It's
Oh,
okay to do
yeah.
that. But if you have scheduled activities where you're forced to get out of the house and go be social, I schedule them because I have to. I won't be motivated to schedule them when I'm down, so I schedule them when I'm not down. So I try to, like, every week say, okay, I want to go out and do something with somebody this week, and then which is just how it works for me. And I always feel better when I'm coming back from those activities. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone. You don't have to suffer alone, I guess, is the point, is being
Yeah.
around other people. And this is such a business where I think most realtors do work in a silo. We're most
Mhm.
aren't even working in offices anymore. They're working from home. So it's really easy to just get trapped in your own thoughts and not realize that, like, there's a sort of other world out there that can really help give you some of that motivation to then give you that extra energy to maybe even go through some of those harder times.
Well, yeah, you're not alone. Nobody is alone in this. We all if people are really truthful, you find out that we all are very alike and suffer from the same things and and get down. And if you're social and you're out there and you're going to learn like, oh wait, this person was feeling like I was, and now look at them and they got through it. And you do build resiliency through it, which we
Yeah,
need
it's
in
fun.
this business, because you're like, sometimes it's really rough in this business. You get
Well, and there's
told
so
no a
much that
lot.
happens in every transaction. There's something unexpected is going to happen in almost every real estate
Oh
transaction,
yeah.
and usually it's going to be something that you news you don't want to hear, because that's just kind of how these things go. So you're going to have these speed bumps. Life is going to throw these challenges at you, and yeah, I think you're right. Like, don't suffer in silence. Get out
No.
there, talk to other agents, have people that you can call, because one of the things that really bothers me is the "you got this" thing. And it's like, no, you don't always have this, and it's okay to not have this. And that's when you lean on other people and you're like, I don't have it today. Like, I just need somebody to give me a hug, or I need somebody to tell me that I'm a worthy person, or to sort of, or I just want to go hang out with somebody and take my mind off my
Yeah.
challenges, or I want to go to or I want to hang out with a realtor who's crushing it right now and maybe learn a few things. There's lots of different options, but for me, I have to get out of my condo. I have to go somewhere, and I have to be very intentional about that. And I have to sort of force myself to do it. But it always works for me. So if anyone out there, we're getting a lot of fan mail recently about people feeling depressed and alone. And I encourage you to
Mm,
really make those connections in the industry, because number one, you're a realtor. Every other realtor is probably going through similar things, and you can work together to keep each other's spirits up, if you don't, for example, have a coach currently. But Nicole, I think that it's really a great place to kind of wrap, because you gave so many amazing suggestions and tips, and I am such a fan of yours. And I know you have a busy team to manage and a busy business to run as well. So I want to, for anyone listening out there who is really, really sort of captured by what Nicole's philosophies are and how she runs her team and her business, and if you think, boy, that sounds like I would like more of that, and you think that you might be a good addition to her team, or maybe you're an agent in another part of the country who has clients that move in and out of Chicago. I mean, maybe they have, they're
oh
they're
yeah.
transferring here for business, and maybe you'd want to, have a referral agent that you trust. Obviously, Nicole is an excellent agent. You can chat with her about that. But if you're local here and you're not getting the coaching that you deserve from your firm, and guess what, guys, most firms aren't doing a great job of coaching, not because it's just a difficult thing for most firms to be able to provide, even though every firm says they do it. Most firms really struggle with that. So a lot of times now, the teams are taking over those responsibilities from the firm itself, to then
Right.
free up time for the firm to do other things. So Nicole is that person at her company. She works for a great company as well, but a lot of times, a lot of people flock to teams just to get more individual attention. So if that is you, or you just think you want to join a really great team, Nicole and the Haidu team would love the opportunity to chat with you. Again, Nicole, best way for anyone to reach out to you.
It's cell 773-727-2199, or my email, which is nhajdu, Hajdu, at dreamtown.com.
Awesome. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for your time today. I've said this a number of times. I'm a huge fan, and I'm really, really always loving what you do with marketing too. So, by the way, guys, get on her mailing list, even just to see what she's doing. So that maybe you're in a different part of the country and you could sort of take that as inspiration to do similar marketing efforts. So go to her website. You can sign up for her newsletter there as well, or reach out to her. But follow her on Instagram, the Hajdu Group Real Estate. Again, Hajdu. We'll have links to her website, Instagram, and all of her social stuff in the show notes. But check her out. She does cool stuff, and I'm a huge fan. And even though she'll probably never be one of our agents, I love the fact that she is doing what she's doing at her firm, and I'm going to always continue to support and follow you. So please, everyone, Let's do us. Oh, I'm going to ask our audience for one quick favor. Please tell a friend about this episode. Think of
Yes.
one agent that could really benefit from some of the things that Nicole mentioned today. Again, staying motivated, understanding that life has its challenges too, and but what you do today is going to bear fruit here in the next quarter. So let's definitely tell a friend about the show, because it might be just what they need to get motivated today. So we appreciate that. And also, one other thing, leave us a review. We really appreciate the reviews. Whatever app you're listening to us on, just let us know what you think of the show, good and bad. We want to hear everything, so we can keep improving. So anyway, Nicole, thank you so much. Amazing. Haidu Group. And
Thank you.
so glad to finally have you on the show. And we will say, on behalf of the audience, thank you to Nicole. And on behalf of Nicole and myself, thank you to the audience for sticking around to the very end and supporting our show. Also, check out our sponsors. We love our sponsors. Thank you, Nicole. And we will see
Thank you,
everybody on the
DJ.
next. Yeah, we'll see everyone on the next episode. Thanks.
Thank you.